what this research suggested with these 2,000 people. That these 2,000 people, more often than otherwise, subconsciously have already decided whether they are going to select this candidate or not within the first 30 seconds. And that's why I'm saying, are all of these 5 points written there? The most important is law. Because what happens in the first 30 seconds? I mean, if you think about it for a minute, let's do it this way. How about you? What's your name? Viraj. Viraj, please start. Okay. Viraj, you're the interviewer and the interviewee. Okay? Please take a seat. Now, does somebody here have a stopwatch? Yes. You have on your phone? Yeah. So what you need me to do, what I want you to do is that from the moment I knock on the door, you start the timer. The moment 30 seconds are over, you give me a clap. Okay, when you start the timer from the moment I knock on the door. Is that okay? And Viraj, you will do this. Okay? So you will ask questions. Go ask you water also. Good evening, sir. My name is Viraj Kalra. Pardon, sir? So my name is Viraj Kalra. I'm from New Delhi. I've done specialization in marketing and HR for the University of Government Management. I'm here for an interview for marketing profile. 20 seconds. Viraj, well done. Thank you very much. Take a seat. Round of applause for Viraj for being able to do it. That's how quickly 30 seconds disappear. Even before I finish introducing myself, 30 seconds are gone. And believe me, in a lot of cases, 30 seconds go even quicker because the walk from the point of time you knock and you come and sit on the chair is longer. So more often than otherwise, by the time you say my name is, 30 seconds are gone. So unless you are able to say my name is Sheila, you've made no impression. Okay? Or if you're going to say my name is God, James God. Unless you're going to say one of those things in the first 30 seconds, you don't do anything which would impress or depress the interviewer enough to decide whether to select you or not. But in 7 out of 10 cases, that happens. And that's where I'm saying from law, your looks and actions come into play. Because if you realize, in those 30 seconds, most amount of difference that anything could have made were not the words I was speaking, but the looks and actions. Because otherwise, what have they tested me on? They haven't tested me on my knowledge, they haven't tested me on my attitude, they haven't tested me on anything. And that's where your first test comes into the picture. Looks and actions. Simple as this, forget about my walking in right now as a candidate. When I walked in here for the first time today, if I had walked in wearing orange shorts, if I walked in wearing orange shorts, I would have come here and said, yo, let's talk about careers. Even if whatever I was saying was relevant, you guys in your mind would have written me off because you don't expect me to come in here in orange shorts. First impressions, expectations, and 30 seconds phenomena, all of it goes together. Expectation in your mind when you hear that somebody is going to come and take a lecture with you is that pant ke to aayega na. Shorts pant ke to nahi aayega, right? That's the first expectation that you have in your mind. When you see somebody who comes and stands here, dressed proper, your first impression is that this could be relevant, right? Same thing happens in an interview as well. When somebody walks in unshaven, when somebody walks in with unpolished shoes, when somebody walks in a suit but is wearing an orange shirt, when somebody walks in a suit but the tie is not knotted all the way up, the interviewer is not cutting any points to that. But subconsciously, the interviewer knows that here is a person who's not serious about this interview. So anybody who's serious, you don't need XCOM classes to tell you that you need to shave when you go for an interview. Anybody who's serious, you do not need to tell them you need to polish your shoes before you go for an interview. Orange shirt maybe, a lot of people don't realize. And that's what I'm noticing here right now. More often than otherwise, people that I've seen sitting here are wearing the right kind of clothes. I know that we've been taught in XCOM to wear white and blue shirts, so I mostly see white and blue shirts. But if you haven't been told this before, I'm telling you this now. Your XCOM white shirt should be white. Not off-white, not beige, not dirty, not old. Should be wrinkly safedi ki chamka wala. If it's not that white, it's not white. On the day of your interview, your suit has to be black, has to be navy blue, or has to be grey. No fourth color is ever going to be. Now see, when you see an XCOM teacher, you know what I'm talking about, right? And that's the way it should be. It's the end of the day, he's not working anymore, so he can pull his tie down. But when you go for an interview, that tie has to be knotted all the way up. That shows the level of your seriousness, right? And these things are the things that make up the looks. For example, a lot of students ask me, sir, I sport a goatee or French beard. Is that okay when I go for an interview? So if Viraj walks in for an interview, and the interviewer is a 70-year-old man who's a retired general from the army, believe me, that he will not appreciate. Because in armed forces, you're taught that, boss, either you're clean shaven or you have a proper well-maintained beard. There's nothing called a goatee. If I'm sitting for that interview as the interviewer, I have no problem. But because Viraj, you will not know before you go in for an interview who's going to be taking your interview, it's best to play safe. And safe means white shirt, black suit. Period. Black shoes, black belt. Period. One thing that I'm noticing with people here, which I would appreciate if you change as quickly as possible, is the color of your socks. The color of your socks has to be the color of your pants. Not the color of your shoes, not your favorite color. The color of your pants. So if you're wearing black pants, your socks are black. If you're wearing dark brown pants, your socks are dark brown. If you're wearing navy blue pants, your socks are navy blue. If you're wearing grey pants, your socks are grey. Your socks are never a color lighter than your pants. Always a color darker. Which means lighter color socks are out of the question. There is nobody who can wear white socks, beige socks, off-white socks, and call it formal. Those are not business formals. I know in school we were taught to wear white socks. That's school formals. But business formals are not white socks. Okay? The reason I'm talking about this is because, believe me, all of these things make a difference in the interview. An interviewer knows it for a fact that the color of your socks does not define how good you are or how relevant are you to your job. But he knows, the moment he looks at your socks and your socks are white, he knows that either you've not been taught XCOM or you've not taken your XCOM seriously. He knows if you're wearing white colored socks that throughout the interview he's only going to keep looking at that and not concentrate on your answer. Because he's thinking white socks can't be right? So that's why I'm saying on the day of your interview, be as conventional as possible and follow everything to the T that your ex-com teachers tell you, because they know what they're talking about. The reason why you're asked to come wearing a suit in every class of yours, in every ex-com class of yours, the reason you're asked to come wearing a suit is because when you sit for an interview, you sit outside the interview for about 4 hours before your turn comes. You have two choices. Either you take that suit off, your jacket off, and just when your turn comes, you put that jacket and go in. More often, otherwise, if you're wearing a jacket at the last moment, if you're running in, your name has been called, your collar is standing. The guy who's sitting on the interview table knows that you've just worn your jacket. And when you're not used to wearing a jacket and sitting for hours at a stretch, when you're sitting in a group discussion or a 1 hour long interview, if you're not used to wearing a jacket for long hours, believe me, you look uncomfortable sitting like that. Because, you know, when you're wearing a shirt, you're like, cool. Or jacket, you're like that. Right? You feel more and more comfortable, you get used to it, you get practice to it, if you keep wearing it all the time. And that's the reason why you're asked to wear it in every class. Because if you wear it in every class, every time you move your hand for a presentation, every time you walk around, you look and feel that much more comfortable wearing that suit. That suit for an MBA is like second skin. It should feel like home. There should come a time, by the time you reach your second year college, that when you're asked to give a presentation here, unless you're wearing a proper suit with a tie, you should feel naked. You should love your suit that much. So that's the looks part of it. The actions part of it is just as important. And where do actions come into play? Give you a small example. Can all of you sit in your best interview positions? How would you sit for an interview? You said you sit in your best interview position. And freeze. Freeze. You give up, give some more. Majority of you, when I'm saying majority, I'm saying about 70 to 80% of you are doing something wrong. Okay? Now, please understand this, that there is no hard and fast rule. Anything to do with body language or with actions, there is nobody who will say, oh, you did that, I'm not going to select you anymore. Nobody's going to do that, right? But all of these things work on the subconscious, so they keep adding up. First rule of action and body language in public. When I'm saying public, it could mean a presentation where one person is talking to 100, or it could mean a one-on-one interview. The first rule is, do not cross limbs. Do not cross limbs. So your feet and your legs should never be crossing. When I'm saying never, it's not like never. It's not like, one of the time you stand like, no, disqualified. It's not like that. Okay? But it means by and large, you should have an open body language and not a closed body language. Alright? Which means that sitting like this or standing like this is out of the question. This is a strict no. This is a strict no. This is a strict no. Once in a while, if you're doing this or if you're doing that, it is okay. Once in a while. All of these are called stereotypes. In fact, this stereotype is called the fig leaf syndrome. It's called the fig leaf syndrome because Adam and Eve didn't have clothes, so they needed fig leaves. But you don't need to hide anything, right? You're wearing clothes. Okay? Similarly, this is called the worshipper syndrome. A lot of people have a habit of talking like this or like this. There's something called the keyer syndrome. People who keep putting their hands in their pocket, looking for keys or looking for coins. Boys have another name for the syndrome, that's a different story. But I'm saying that each one of these things is stereotype. Alright? So idea is to have open body language, especially your hands, even when you're sitting. Even when you're sitting, if you've got armrest, your hands are on the armrest. And in case you do not have armrest, your hands are on your lap. But they're no. Like I said, this is out of the question. They're on your lap. Or they're moving because you're talking. But they're never here. Alright? Never put your hands between your legs. Okay? A lot of people today have their hands between their legs. That's not a good idea. They should not be crossed like this either. Like I said, keep them open. Palms facing down on your lap. That's the best interview position to be in. And you do that, believe me, you'll feel more confident. If you keep your body language open and uncrossed, believe me, you'll feel more confident. Similarly with your feet. When you're sitting, your feet should ideally be planted, both feet should ideally be planted firmly on the ground in front of you. Not too far out, because if you keep your feet too far out, that's aggressive, that's obtrusive. You're going into the other person's space. That's like saying, hey. So don't do that. Similarly, a lot of you keep your feet under your chin. That is nervous body language. That is introvert body language. That's defensive body language. Because it's like kutte ki pooch. When a dog is scared, the tail goes under the legs. Right? Similarly, when a person is nervous, the legs are under their chin. Okay, so they should ideally be firmly planted on the ground in front of you, both feet. I know that many of you must be wondering, hey, how do these things make a difference? Believe me, each one of these things make a difference. Each one of these things on a subconscious level play a very important role. And in some cases, it plays an important role. Tomorrow, when you become an HR executive and when you go for recruitments to a campus, now that I've told you what I've told you, you will look for these things. You yourself will look for these things. So similarly, people who come to recruit you, when they were in B school, they were taught these things. So they look for these things. Similarly, in actions, a lot of people walk into the interview room as candidates and say, hi sir, my name is Viraj Kalra. For me, they are rejected there and then. It does not even take 30 seconds. For me, they are rejected there and then because I know in their XCOM classes nobody has told them that when you go in for an interview as an interviewee, as a candidate, you never offer your hand first. You always wait for the interviewer to offer the hand. And if the interviewer does not offer a hand for a handshake, there is no handshake. It's as simple as that. Neither while sitting down nor while getting up. It's always the interviewer's prerogative to offer the hand first. So all of that is part of your actions. Like I say, I'm just giving you some of the examples which are immediately relevant. There are plenty more. I mean, for example, the interviewer says, please introduce yourself, right? And I say, sir, my name is Viraj Kalra, I'm from the Agency of Planning and Management. I came from New Delhi. My father is a geologist, my mother is a homemaker. I have a sister who's working in HR and eye contact. But eye contact does not mean who blinks first. Because we are all taught that good communication skills is also about eye contact. And eye contact shows confidence, so eye contact. Imagine you're going in for an interview. It's not like jab tak meri aankhon se aansu nahi So, it's an interview. You can't make your interviewer feel uncomfortable because, you know, everybody needs a little time to give you feedback or to go back into their own world for a second. But if you don't leave eye contact, or for that matter, think that on the other side, the interviewer is a dainty, small little girl, and you're this big guy who's walked in and eye contact. So the point is, what I'm trying to say with all of this is that your actions subconsciously are going to make a big difference in the mind of the interviewer. Some things we are taught and we do them so theoretically that that looks artificial, like I know. Or like a smile, not being a smile all the time. Like you're going in for an interview, you look confident, you look positive, so smile. But the point is, how long can you smile? Because sooner or later you get tired, and it has to be relevant. It has to be relevant to that moment, to that situation, right? So what I'm saying is that that's the actions part of it. There are a lot of details which I'm sure your ExCom faculty will go into with time and when the right time comes for it. But all I'm saying at this point in time is that when you are going for the most important 30 minutes of your life, with looks and actions, you can make or break that entire lifetime of yours within the first 30 seconds. So let those first 30 seconds play in your favor with looks and actions. Alright? Last but not least is words. You get a lot of feedback in ExCom on spoken English, on your communication skills in terms of command of language, grammar, accent, pronunciation, all of that. For me, words are divided into two parts. In law, looks, actions, and words are divided into two parts. One part of words is your knowledge and information. One part of words is how you package that knowledge and information. So let's assume in the interview with Viraj Kalra comes in. If I'm wearing a proper suit, which I'm not wearing today, but I set a good first impression in terms of the fact that it's a good suit, everything is proper, good actions, eye contact, smiles, everything is okay. First impression is a good impression. Now the interviewer decides that here is a candidate who looks worthy, right? Let me ask him some questions. Let's assume that the first question that the interviewer asks you is name the 7 continents. Name the 7 continents. Now, for example, sir, you name the 7 continents. Now, while I'm asking him this question, I know that everybody sitting in this class right now is trying to recollect the 7 continents. Because there will be hardly anybody, if anybody at all, who offhandedly remembers the 7 continents. Because in your mind you're thinking 7 continents is a class 5 geography question. What does it have to do with MBA? Well, the fact of the matter is that if you want to work with an MNC, the whole idea of an MNC is that it's present in more than one country or more than one continent. Why should that company hire you if you can't even name the 7 continents? And that's where words come in. You could be wearing the best suit, you could be the most well-groomed, you could have the best actions as far as confident body language is concerned. But if finally your knowledge and information does not follow through, it's all irrelevant. It's all irrelevant. That brings me back to a point I made right in the beginning. I said that if you read your newspapers, and I said that I know you don't. A lot of us think that news to मिल जाएगी, कोई ना कोई दे देगा. राखी सावंत का नया वीडियो रिलीज हुआ है, वो न्यूज तो आपको कोई भी दे देगा. और इन्फोसिस के शेयर का प्राइस क्या है और उसका प्राइस वो क्यों है? इंडियन इकोनॉमी में इन्फ्लेशन या डिफ्लेशन क्यों हो रहा है? Currency inflate, deflate क्यों होती है? All of those are questions and answers which you need to inculcate knowledge of, which you need to keep reading up. You will not even understand it from reading it. So that's one part of words, knowledge and information. Second is your pronunciation, voice modulation, articulation. How do you package that one? I keep saying this all the time. A lot of us, when we are asked for introductions, we don't even say our names properly. Because you said your name so many times that you just assume that the other guy understood what you said. But the fact is, every time you mention your name, you should mention it with as much respect as you want the other person to give you. My name is Viraj Kalra versus my name is Viraj Kalra. You know how much importance I give to myself based on the way I introduce myself. Right? That's packaging as far as words are concerned. Voice modulation, voice dynamics, accent, pronunciation, so on and so forth. Alright? So that brings me right back to this slide. I'm saying you can, if somebody asks you why did you not get good marks, if you have the right law, you can absolutely convince them with a good answer. You put the right white formulation and you say that, sir, maybe in the last 10 and 12, I was not as serious as I am today. But if you look at my MBA grades, they're much better than my 10th class or my 12th class marks. And I assure you that I'll always look forward and grow, and I'll keep doing that. That's part of my attitude now. It does not make your marks any better. But you package it in a manner that at least the guy thinks you're optimistic, you're positive, and you're confident. That's where loose action and words comes from. Any of the other 3 or 4 things you can convince an interviewer on if you've got your looks, actions, and words in order. And that's why, if you ask me, whether it is a 30-second phenomena or it is 30 minutes of your interview, or it is about the 30 years of life after that, your working life after that, one of the most important things from your MBA that will stay with you is your executive communication classes. I'm not just saying this because I'm an ex-com guy. I'm saying this because I recruit every day now. One thing that I don't see in a lot of candidates is that confidence in personality and communication. And believe me, you could be an MBA in finance, you could be an MBA in HR, you could be an MBA in marketing. Chances are that you'll spend most of your time as an MBA communicating with people. Communicating with teams, communicating with customers, communicating with your employees, employers. People-based communication is going to be the majority of the work that an MBA does. If you wanted to go work with NASA as a rocket scientist, I would have never even spoken to you about how important executive communication is. But since you're going to be working with people as an MBA, believe me, one of the most important things that you're going to take away with you in these 2 or 3 years is going to be your communication skills. And there is nobody, when I say nobody, I mean there is nobody who can at some point in time get up and say, I'm perfect. I'm the best communicator on the planet. There's always scope for improvement. Alright? So keep improving, keep practicing, and believe me, this can become a differentiator by itself. So when I finish today, I finished with 3 points. Point number 1, word is extremely competitive. You've chosen one of the most competitive fields to prove yourselves in, which is an MBA. That's point number 1. Point number 2, now that you've chosen it, excel at it, be successful at it. The best way of being successful at being an MBA is differentiating yourself constantly, becoming a brand, creating USPs. Point number 3 is how do you differentiate yourself against competition? We spoke about it. Number 1, do something you really want to do and what you really are good at. 2, believe in what you're doing. Believe in where you're doing it from. And 3, these are the things that your employer is looking for. Out of these things, one thing which is totally in your control that you can improve and work hard on and package yourself on is law. So work hard on it, practice it, because you can get this in your control. Follow it up with the right attitude, everything else falls into place. Are we clear?
Yes.
Does it make sense?
Yes.
Fantastic. So if it's a big yes from everybody, then thank you very much and see you guys soon again. Thank you. Just so that if anybody has any questions, any doubts, if you want to get in touch, you want to write it, you're most welcome to do that. That's my email ID there. What career, what company, what specialization, what internship, any question with respect to anything that we spoke about today or otherwise, just write it. I usually don't take longer than 24 hours to 48 hours to reply back. So that's the longest I'll take, but writing is only relevant stuff, right? Because I take pains to go through those pains, right? So let's make it relevant. Thank you. Bye-bye.